Throughout history, whispers have passed from mouth to mouth, culture to culture. Stories of beings that lurk in the shadows, feed on blood, and walk eternally among the living. They go by many names: Strigoi, Nosferatu, Los Oscuros, the Pale Ones. But one name has endured in the modern psyche: vampires. To many, they are legends. To others, metaphors for disease, lust, or death. But among fringe researchers, rogue scientists, and believers in the unseen, there is a persistent, unsettling theory. Vampires may be real, just not how we think. Not undead monsters with capes and fangs, but something far older, far smarter, and perhaps far more dangerous. In the secluded ranges of the Carpathian Mountains, hidden deep in ancient crypts and beneath the ruins of forgotten monasteries, researchers have uncovered manuscripts detailing the existence of a secretive group known as the Covenant of Vera, a name deliberately wiped from public records by the Vatican during the 15th century. These beings were described not as demons, but as evolved entities, biologically superior to humans in every measurable way. They lived in isolation, fed selectively, and maintained a strict code of secrecy. They had heightened senses, superhuman strength, regenerative biology, and what some called a psychic field, a subtle influence that allowed them to manipulate human thought and emotion. They were not undead, they were alive, and they were patient. Across the globe, other whispers persist. In remote regions of the Andes, local tribes speak of Los Oscuros, pale-skinned immortals who lived in mountaintop temples and demanded blood in exchange for protection and fertility. In feudal Japan, the shadowy records of the Yamabiko orders mention silent monks who never aged and who could walk barefoot across frozen peaks without leaving a mark. In modern Europe, underground societies such as the rumored House of Nyx are said to be composed of old bloodlines that trace their lineage back to the first night, a term left unexplained in all sources. None of these accounts name their subjects as vampires. That's a Western invention. But all the signs point to the same idea: beings of human-like intelligence and form, yet biologically beyond us, stronger, smarter, longer-lived, and dependent on blood. So why do people believe? The belief in vampires is rooted not just in folklore, but in a pattern, one that stretches from ancient medicine to unexplained modern disappearances. Diseases like porphyria, a rare genetic disorder that causes sensitivity to sunlight and makes the gums recede, giving the illusion of fangs, may have helped inspire early vampire myths. But when you look at how widespread these legends are, across cultures that never contacted one another, it becomes harder to dismiss the similarities. Some say it's all psychological. Others argue that there's something embedded in our collective memory, a predator we once knew, and perhaps fled from. The fear remains, encoded in our stories, passed down through myth. Archaeological digs across Eastern Europe have uncovered graves filled with mutilated corpses, hearts pierced by stakes, heads removed, mouths filled with stones. These weren't fantasy. They were real people, and their communities believed they had to contain them. Why such consistent rituals across different regions and centuries? More recently, alleged sightings of unnaturally pale individuals in highly secured compounds, mysterious figures attending global elite gatherings at odd hours, and cult-like groups engaging in blood ceremonies have sparked online speculation. These are often dismissed as conspiracy theories, but certain leaked documents complicate the narrative. In 2027, a Siberian research facility affiliated with DARPA was destroyed in a fire. The project it housed, known unofficially as Project Nyx, was believed to be conducting experiments on blood-based longevity therapy. Some rumors suggest they were not simply testing for anti-aging compounds, but attempting to replicate traits found in DNA samples obtained from unknown origin, possibly from an unmarked vault in the Carpathians. The fire was classified as non-accidental, and all surviving researchers disappeared. Meanwhile, many scientists continue to refute the entire concept. Prominent anthropologists like Dr. Miriam Haldane claim that vampire myths are rooted in social fears of death, disease, and sexuality. Her book, The Vampire Delusion, argues that every reported vampire trait can be traced to natural causes or misinterpretation. There is no scientific evidence, she writes, of any species or organism resembling a vampire in any era of evolutionary history. She, like many others, is adamant. Vampires are fiction. But others ask, what if they were never meant to leave evidence? What if they are still here? Hidden. Controlling. Feeding carefully, sparingly, from places no one will notice. Abandoned villages, missing persons, the invisible edges of society. There is a growing theory among cryptobiologists and fringe thinkers that if such a predator existed, it would have to be vastly superior to us. Not just in strength or speed, but in cognition, in the ability to plan, observe, and avoid exposure for millennia. These beings wouldn't act like beasts. They would act like gods, or perhaps farmers, managing their herds silently, invisibly. If a species evolved, or was engineered, to survive off human blood while maintaining absolute secrecy, we would never find them. Not unless they wanted to be found. And that's the most disturbing part. Because some believe that the time of hiding is coming to an end. That strange signals intercepted near the Arctic, the increasing number of ritualistic killings labeled as accidents, and the rise of underground societies with obscure sigils all point to a reawakening, not of monsters, but of masters. If the legends are true, even a little, then humanity has not always ruled the earth. And we may not be alone at the top.